Growing up, I really dreamed of becoming a pediatrician. I met nurses in different roles throughout life and also experienced healthcare myself in a more personal way. I really got to see how nurses have something very valuable to bring to the table, and I started to see the nursing role in a completely different light. While I really continued to love the clinical aspect of nursing, I really became fascinated with technology and how it influenced patient care. The more I worked with EMRs, I realized how my findings, analyzing how different things would affect my patients, really influenced decisions. And that was really eye-opening to me to see how much technology really changed my care and my practice. And I was really mind blown by the potential of technology in healthcare. There's a lot of skills that we do have as nurses that are transferable to tech. I think with technology, there's just so much potential to impact healthcare systems as a whole, even like beyond bedside nursing, just making sure health systems are more equitable, are more sustainable. When we work side by side with AI, it really does bring a lot of benefits. And when you think of it in healthcare is the industry that, has the most data. We're collecting data all the time, and so much data, and that information is so valuable and so important and should be leveraged in a way that, we make decisions that benefit all patients and that really improve patient care. We're often boxed into this thought that we have to stay at the bedside. Nurses can only evolve at the bedside, but no, there's so many roles out there for us.
Welcome to the Nurse on Purpose podcast, where we challenge media stereotypes about nursing and spotlight the incredible and diverse roles nurses play in healthcare. I'm your host, Nello. Every week, I'll be joined by a nurse who is reshaping the narrative. From frontline care to leadership, education, innovation, and beyond. Our aim is to show the world that nursing is so much more than what we see on TV. Together, we'll explore how we can collaborate with media and other stakeholders to create authentic and inspiring portrayals of nurses. Let's begin the conversation and ignite change, one episode at a time.
Hi everyone, welcome back to the Nurse on Purpose podcast. Today we are diving into a conversation that is all about breaking barriers, embracing change, and redefining what it means to be a nurse in today's world. My guest is a powerhouse in nursing, informatics, and entrepreneurship. Olivia is the founder of Cross-Border RN, a coaching business helping nurses navigate career transitions from digital health to travel nursing. Currently pursuing an executive master's in health informatics, she's passionate about empowering nurses to thrive at the intersection of healthcare, technology, and adventure, while fostering a community of innovators shaping the future of nursing. It's my pleasure to welcome you to the podcast. You're welcome, Olivia.
Thank you so much, Nello. Thank you for having me. I'm so happy to be here, and I feel very, very privileged to be able to be part of this conversation.
Yes,
I'm very excited.
Thank you. And I'm loving your look. You're glowing. Your hair is popping. You're giving Haitian background.
Yes. Always.
Thank you so much. It's my pleasure to have you here. So today we're going to be talking really about your journey, not only in nursing, but transitioning from bedside roles to digital health, AI, and also the coaching that you've now gotten into, helping nurses to do the same. Okay, so first let's talk about your background. Tell me about your journey into nursing and really what roads have led you to where you are today.
Yes, of course. My nursing journey was not streamlined one. I went through, different obstacles and different things that I'll talk about. But growing up, I really dreamed of becoming a pediatrician. As a daughter, of immigrants, my Haitian background, it's a running gag in the Haitian community.
Yes, it is.
We have to be doctors, lawyers, or engineers, or if not, well, we haven't done anything in life.
I'm so glad somebody else is bringing this up.
Yes, it's our sad reality. But as I got older, I met nurses in different roles throughout life and also experienced healthcare myself in a more personal way. I had an uncle who battled a cancer for many years, and I got to spend a lot of time with him at the hospital. And just spending time with him at the hospital and seeing how the care teams were just taking amazing care of him, I really got to see how nurses have something very valuable to bring to the table. And I started to see the nursing role in a completely different light. I wasn't just amazed by how much impact they had in my uncle's day-to-day life, but just seeing how their role wasn't just like following doctors' orders. They really stood out to me in their expertise, how much they were advocating for my uncle, and just how much every time he had his particular nurse that he wanted, every time she was there, his day was, completely different. And that just showed how much nurses do influence patients. And it's really in the little things. And so I knew that out of all healthcare professionals, even though in the eyes of my immigrant parents, medicine was the way to go, but I knew that the path I had to take really to have an influence and make a difference was nursing. So for me, that really influenced my decision. And when I began my career as well, I observed and saw how physicians had, an important role, of course, but they were like somewhat distant from patients. And being in that role where I was at the bedside and I was the one who knew my patient, fully, especially in the ICU, it really confirmed to me that I was at the right place.
Wonderful. That's wonderful. So you said ICU. Were you adult ICU, pediatric ICU?
Yes. So primarily pediatric ICU. I worked at the Montreal Children's Hospital. That's where I started my career. And going from studying nursing for 3-4 years and then transitioning to ICU, intense, high paced, fast paced. It was really like a transformative experience, very like emotionally demanding. Was not expecting that at all. But it was a great one.
Yeah, wonderful. And then eventually after you had done that, I'm guessing for a couple of years, is that when you decided to transition into the tech world?
Yes. So initially, working in the pediatric ICU in Montreal, in that hospital, we were fully paper-based. So everything paper charting. We did have a little bit of technology integrated in our care, but very minimal. And then with time, I got opportunities to go work in the US. And that was really a transformative experience for me as well. It was a huge shift to have to go work in hospitals using all these different EMR systems. And, as a travel nurse, you're expected to adapt literally in seconds. Right. You get on the floor, they show you, there's the bathroom, there's the equipment room, and you go for it. Take care of, intubated babies, and you're let loose. And so that was a really challenging experience as well. But what really transformed my perspective on nursing was just having to navigate all the different EMR systems that I was working with. And while I really continue to love the clinical aspect of nursing, I really became fascinated with technology and how it influenced patient care. Using, EMRs in the pediatric ICU where vitals are changing rapidly and, we have a lot of documentation to do. You really see how having access to all that data and having it organized in a specific way that makes you better understand it and, helps you make the right decisions. It's really impactful. And, sometimes when I was in the ICU, I would see myself as like a data clerk, collecting data and, trying to make sense of it and then analyzing and bringing my findings to physicians, so they can make their decisions. And, the more I worked with EMRs, I realized how my findings, analyzing how different things would affect my patients really influenced decisions. And that was really eye-opening to me to see how much technology really changed my care and my practice. And I was really mind blown by the potential of technology in healthcare. So from that, I became more curious and I decided to pursue my master's in health informatics. And that's basically how I transitioned to the field. I was able to pull my first informatic role from that. And I
Yeah.
also gained a lot of experience away from the bedside while still impacting patient care. A lot of nurses think once you leave the bedside, you're gone, but no.
Yeah.
There's
Yeah.
so many roles where you can, directly impact patients without physically being next to them. And sometimes, you even get to make decisions that are even more powerful and that are more transformative for the healthcare system.
That's wonderful. Can you give me an example of how digital health or working in tech, in healthcare, directly impacts patient outcomes?
Yeah, for sure. So there's a lot of tools out there that really have an impact on patient care. For example, patient portals, like telemedicine
Mm,
platforms
mhm,
today, wearables, Apple
mm,
Watches, all these
mm,
tools that,
mhm.
patients are, walking around with and
Monitoring
using.
devices. Yeah.
Exactly.
Mhm,
All these tools that are used collect a lot of data.
mm,
And with that data, there's a lot of decisions that can be made to influence patient care.
mm,
And health informaticians really not only make sense of all that data, but also
mhm,
create tools such as clinical decision support systems that
mhm.
can help clinicians, not replace their decision making, but help them in their decisions.
Enhance
So
it. Yeah.
exactly. So, for
Yeah.
example, in EMRs, we have all this patient data collected, and you can have AI algorithms, for example, analyzing that data and suggesting different care plans or different decisions for patient care.
Oh,
So
that's
that, in its core, a lot of health informaticians work to develop these tools and
yeah.
really help in patient care.
Thank you so much for sharing that. And when you decided to transition into tech, did you find it really difficult to adapt to the changes, or did you have like mentorship? How did you get it to where you were comfortable in your transition process?
Yes, that's a very, very good question. If I did find it challenging, I'm not going to lie. Yes, it was challenging. Tech is a whole new world. There's a lot of different terms to, understand how to navigate. And the thing is, there's a lot of skills that we do have as nurses that are transferable to tech. For example, as nurses, we're used to communicating with different professionals, right? We're used to advocating for our patients. This is all things that, in tech, we also do the same. But it's just done in a different way.
Yeah.
And, we're communicating with different professionals that we're not necessarily used to working with. We're working with project managers, we're
Uh-huh.
working with developers, we're working with data analysts,
Yeah.
engineers. So we have to learn how to speak their language,
Yeah.
right? And not only that, we have to learn how to translate their language to clinical teams. And we
Mm.
have to learn how to translate clinical teams talk to them. So
Uh-huh.
that's the challenge, and being able to explain, medical workflows, clinical workflows to them, and really explain the value in what we're trying to bring to them.
Yeah.
Us as nurses, we understand what we're talking about, but
Yeah.
with different professionals, it can be challenging.
Yeah. I think that, that is so interesting. And the way technology is moving, I feel like if anyone doesn't sort of get with the program and start to learn, they'll be at the mercy of the people who are learning and they might be left behind. So I always urge people, don't box yourself in when it comes to your nursing career. Make sure that you're expanding your knowledge and you're thinking way outside the box. Make sure that you're letting AI, work for you. And if you have the opportunities, for instance, as you're at your hospital, to learn about the tools and the AI technology that will make an impact in the nursing workflows, raise your hand and volunteer to be, like a volunteer to help with the development of those processes, because they will affect you one way or another. And when you do that, you can open up doors for other opportunities. So for the people who are willing to take the risk and be the first to jump in and learn, kudos to them, because it's going to come one way or another. We can't be afraid of it. But I think that there is also discouragement, because now we're hearing the term AI nurse, and everyone is like, excuse me, we need to protect the term nurse. We already fought so hard to protect what our career means to us and the value that we bring to patient care, the patient's experience. And now a machine is taking the name nurse and saying AI nurse, and that will almost make nursing replaceable, even though we know that the true nature of nursing cannot be replaced, right? And our value can really never be replaced. But even just having that name attached to an AI bot, it's kind of insulting. And I think that sometimes nurses can feel discouraged by that. So I'll move on from my little soapbox there. But what is it that excites you most about the intersection between nursing and technology?
For me, honestly, I think with technology, there's just so much potential to impact healthcare systems as a whole, even like beyond bedside nursing, just making sure health systems are more equitable, are more sustainable, and really take into account all patients and more accessible for all patients that we care for. And just having that technology, like you said, it can be intimidating, and to think that AI is going to be integrated in everything that we're using and all of the decisions that we're going to be making. But when we work side by side with AI, it really does bring a lot of benefits. And when you think of it in healthcare is the industry that has the most data. We're collecting data all the time, and so much data, and that information is so valuable and so important and should be leveraged in a way that we make decisions that benefit all patients and that really improve patient care. But unfortunately, we have limits as humans, and the reality is there's burnout, there's, emotional fatigue, and healthcare is such a demanding industry. And we need to accept help. We need to, start accepting help and, realize that technology can be used as a leverage to improve, patient care and improve our workflows as well. And I think that for nurses that, fear the term like AI nurse and fear AI coming in and replacing us, I think a good thing to do is really try to understand how these tools work and how we can influence their use as well, because nurses can sit in positions where, can and should, I believe, should sit in positions where they're making policies to regulate how this AI has to be used and how it should be evaluated and regulated to make sure that it's safe. And we are the ones that know patient care the best. That's what we do. And that skill is invaluable in, integrating these tools into our care.
Thank you so much for sharing that. We influence how AI is being used. That's key, what you said, is that if we are involved, then we can steer the ship how we want it to turn, right? And that's important. You created Cross Border RN, a coaching company. Can you tell us what your mission is behind Cross Border RN?
Of course. So Cross Border RN is my baby.
Yeah.
Really born out of my own experience. The name Cross Border comes from me, crossing the border over to the US and just shifting, my practice and, everything that I knew about nursing shifted. And it really opened new opportunities for me. It was really taking that leap into travel nursing and working in all these different hospitals that I was at that gave me that perspective of understanding how technology improves patient care. And going through that, also empowered me and just made me realize that, hey, I can take part of this transformation of healthcare, and I want other nurses to realize that as well. So that's how Cross Border was born. I really, basically, my mission with Cross Border is really to help nurses see their value and understand that their skill set is very unique and necessary in the digital health space. So I really encourage nurses to either go for travel nursing if they want, more freedom, more flexibility, and, explore also digital health, informatics, for, more leadership roles,
Yeah.
so they can sit at the table and have influence. It's hard to understand why, but nurses, when we go away from the bedside, we were heard, we have a strong voice and we influence. So yes, we can influence at the level of the bedside, but we can also influence away from the bedside. And like you were saying earlier, we're often boxed into this thought that, we have to stay at the bedside, nurses can only evolve at the bedside, but no, there's so many roles out there for us. When you think of it, healthcare is so large, there's so many different fields involved in
So
healthcare,
many.
like finance, law, tech, the list is so long. But nurses, we don't think about those roles. We're not taught to think out of the box. So that's really my mission with Cross Border, nurses that want to take the leap into another field, but, are just scared or just don't know how to do it. I want to be there and empower them and make them see that they are valuable, they have the skills, and nothing should stop them. Sometimes you
Wow.
just need that little push, so
Yes.
you can see
Yeah.
it for yourself. But
That's
yeah.
wonderful. How long was your travel nursing stint, and where did you travel to when you were doing
So I had an amazing time traveling across
it?
across different states. I went from Florida to Missouri, to
Wow.
Georgia, and then
Wow.
back to Florida,
Wow.
and then Maryland. I went all over,
You've
and
seen more of America than Americans.
you know what?
You came
It's
from
so funny because
Montreal and you're like, let me show you guys how it's done.
yeah. I realized that as I was traveling, a lot of the nurses were like, wow, you've been to more places than me and you're Canadian.
Hmm.
Like, how does that
Hmm.
make sense? But
Hmm.
I feel like there's a lot of opportunity out there. And I think nurses should, take the leap.
Yeah.
Nurses need to feel empowered and cross barriers and,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
And
And
you're
I
here
think
to support them.
exactly, exactly. And I
Yeah.
think that travel nursing is such a good opportunity to grow, in your profession,
Mm.
I experienced it for myself. As you go from different hospitals, you see different workflows, you see different ways of doing things, and you can see what works and what doesn't work.
Mm.
And, even with technology, like using different EMR systems, you get to see the little details and the little things that work, and that don't work, and what
Yeah.
makes, clinical workflows better. And I always encourage nurses that, want to transition to tech to get their hands on different technologies, different EMRs, go see different hospitals, how they do
Yeah.
things,
Yeah.
and you gain skills that are really valuable.
Yeah. So that discomfort that you felt, leaping into the tech side, and then the discomfort you felt when you were pushed onto these workflows that you were brand new to, EMRs that you had never really encountered before, all of that really came together for you and built you into this path that you're now on. And that's so commendable that you turned it around and now you're wanting to help other people to do the same. So thank you so much. It was really a pleasure just hearing about your journey. And I will be sharing where people can find you if they wanted to reach out to you for coaching or for whatever services that you can provide to them. By the way, what services do you provide to your
So
clients?
I really help, first of all, nurses that want to go into travel nursing, whether US travel nursing or Canadian travel nursing, or Canadians that want to transition to the US. I really help them with navigating licensure,
Licensure.
exactly, licensure, navigating contracts, how to negotiate their contracts,
Okay.
how to advocate for themselves to get contracts that benefit them.
Yeah. Sure.
And, just understanding how travel nursing works as a whole, and
Yeah.
also making them see the valuable skills that they can get from travel nursing. Sometimes nurses think that, traveling is just about, going to different cities and enjoying different places, of course, but it's also a lever for your nursing career. A lot of
Yeah.
people don't talk about that, but it really gives you a lot of skills.
It does.
And then the digital health side, I really want to, first of all, make nurses know what this field is. A lot of nurses don't know that we have influence in technology and all the EMR systems that we're working with. Well, there's nurses behind that, working with teams to build those and implement those in hospitals. So I help nurses understand that. I tailor CVs, resumes, personal statement letters, and just help them navigating, looking for different roles. Oftentimes, informatics roles have the weirdest names. Like you won't, you won't
You would
find them.
never know. Yeah.
No, you won't know until you go and read the description, and then you realize, hey, as a nurse, I can do all of this. But just because no one's told you, you don't know. So I really empower nurses with that knowledge and help them navigate that.
Oh, wow. Wonderful. Thank you so much. That's a lot that you do. And I think nurses will benefit greatly from it, especially when they're looking for more flexibility in their lives. And not saying that there's anything wrong with the bedside, because we've all been there. We've all been bedside. We need bedside nurses. We just need to retain them properly by taking care of them. But for anyone who's looking outside the bedside, to know that there are opportunities out there for them. So thank you so much. All right. We are almost out of time. We're still going to play our game. But first, I want to ask you, do you watch any shows? And if you do, any medical type of shows? And if you do, what is your opinion about how nurses are portrayed in the media?
Yes, so I don't watch that many medical shows, but from what I've seen throughout my life, whenever I'd see a nurse on TV, most of the time the nurse is seen as the helper, the aide, the one that follows orders, that doesn't make decisions, that refrains from expressing herself sometimes. And it's frustrating, to see that. It's frustrating to see that even in today's age where nurses, over time, I feel like we've gained more and more responsibilities in the healthcare space. And even now today, nurses haven't changed their image, in the media, and seeing nurses as that person that's shy and that refrains from, making those decisions. Exactly. Yeah. I had a nurse mentor who told me something that really hit me one day. She told me that nurses are like intellectual maids, and I feel like it's harsh, but I feel like the media does portray us in that light, unfortunately. And I really think that the only way we can have this change is really change it ourselves. I think we need to talk differently. I think we need to trust ourselves and trust that our voice is valuable. And I really think that we have to be ready to take the leap into different fields. I think the more nurses are having influence in different fields out there, the more people out there are going to see us in a different light. And no matter how the media portrays us, we're going to have people are going to see us in different roles leading.
Yeah.
Exactly. And representation is important too.
Yes.
I think the media does that for a purpose. The media does that really to keep us at that level of, being that bedside nurse that doesn't want to do more. And I think we are the only ones that can really change that.
Yeah. So. And the more we have a voice in the media too, because I think other professions have that voice, right?
Yes.
I really do, because when you see their portrayals, you see that they're always portrayed as powerful, intelligent, capable, well put together, but when the nurses are portrayed, because there is no one in that seat speaking on our behalf to say, no, we are not dummies, we are not sexy, we don't even have time to be sexy.
Right.
Right? Like that's not the image that we want to follow us. And it doesn't mean that we're trying to take the fun out of everything, but what people see on TV, film, whatever, largely really informs their opinion. And it doesn't take long, right? 3 seconds, 2 seconds, like a quick visual of something will form a thought in your mind. And I think that's what has happened to the nursing profession over time. So thanks for sharing that. Let's play our game real quick because we are just about wrapping up here. So you know what the game is about. I don't need to tell you. Come on.
Of course.
But for my listeners who haven't seen, I will shake my jar. I will pick a genre from my jar, and I will read it out to Olivia. Whatever I read, she has to come up with the plot of a show, movie, whatever I read that features a nurse character or a nurse lead, and kind of tell me how she would love to see that nurse portrayed. We've talked about the issues. We want to talk about the solutions, but do it in a light and, fun, lighthearted way. Okay? Are you ready?
Love that. Yes.
Okay.
Let's go for it. Let's go.
Shake it around. Let's go. I hope you're ready. Okay, girl. Your category is sci-fi.
Wow, I have to travel to like year 2075 or something.
You better travel.
Okay. Wow.
I think this is the first time I've had sci-fi for any of you.
Really?
Yes.
Oh, wow. Very nice. Sci-fi. Okay. So let's picture this nurse, right? Her name is Sandra. Okay, so Nurse Sandra, we're in year 2075.
Okay.
And Nurse Sandra is a new nurse, new grad, she's all excited. She's ready to change the world, she's ready to impact patient care. She wants to advocate for patients and she wants to have a lot of influence. So she comes into the profession and she's so excited. But then she sees a lot of cracks and a lot of problems in the healthcare system. She was not expecting that. But she's a critical thinker. She has very good skills, very good knowledge, and she wants to solve these problems. And she's trying to use technology to solve all the different problems that she sees around her. And she has this opponent, which is this like robot, in the hospital. And that robot embodies AI. And he's just walking around the hospital, and every time she's coming up with a solution, he's like, no, this is not happening. He's like, this is not happening, okay? I'm taking over. I am the one bringing the solutions to the table here.
Wow.
And she just keeps on going. And she's like, no, we're going to solve these problems. And everything she does works. And this AI is frustrated, and he's like, why is this human taking over everything? Like, I'm supposed to be in power.
Yeah.
And finally, at the end of the movie, AI realizes that he needs to work with the nurse. They need to sit together and make decisions hand in hand. And that's the only way that things are going to get moving and things are going to get better for patients in the hospital.
Nice. I know that AI bot better sit down.
Right?
Wow, that was awesome. He has feelings. He's frustrated.
Yes.
AI.
Sit down.
I love that. The power of collaboration in a sci-fi movie. Awesome.
Yes.
Thank you so much for sharing that, Olivia. Can you tell people where they can connect with you?
Of course. So I'd really be glad to connect with any nurse that, wants to take the leap into digital health, informatics, or travel nursing. You can reach out to me on LinkedIn. My name is Olivia Hollant. You can reach out to me on TikTok. I go by Cross Border RN. And you could also find me on my website, crossborderrn.com. I'd be so glad to help you.
Yes, thank you so much. All of her information will be in the show notes. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. It's been a pleasure talking to Olivia. If you guys are listening on Spotify, I encourage you to just go watch this episode on YouTube, just so you can see the gorgeousness that I'm staring at. Olivia, you're like a ray of sunshine. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you for having
and talking
me.
to my guest today. I hope you guys have gained something valuable from this episode. Until the next one. Bye-bye.
Thanks for hanging with me till the end. I hope you gained some valuable insight into the world of nursing. If today's episode inspired you, please like, subscribe, and share with someone who needs to hear about the amazing work nurses are doing. Let's keep breaking stereotypes and reshaping the narrative together. I'll see you next time.